In 2009, director Patrick Lussier worked with writer Todd Farmer on the remake of My Bloody Valentine. With a modest budget of $15 million, it went on to gross more than $100 million. The duo had a blast making the film. It was a throwback to old horror with a heavy dose of 3D. After this success, they decided they wanted to create what they jokingly called an incredibly gentle road movie about the relationships between a young man and his surrogate daughter as they travel across the back roads of America. Essentially a balls-out, full-throttle, hard R-rated homage to 70s road movies in 3D. The movie was about a guy named Milton who escaped from hell to rescue his orphaned granddaughter from an evil cultist hell-bent on sacrificing her. They wanted to keep the feel in line with movies like High Plains Drifter and Dirty Mary Crazy Larry, where everyone was bad. Milton was written as the Terminator via Edgar Allan Poe. They had the concept for the film, but they were struggling for a title. One night, they were sitting around chatting while watching Groundhog Day. The scene with Bill Murray and the groundhog was playing, and they immediately knew they had their title.
Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
After finishing the screenplay, they shopped it around. Studio after studio turned it down, claiming it was simply too violent. They brought it to Michael DeLuca, producer of movies like Boogie Nights, Blade, and Blade 2, and he loved it. He took the script to Nicolas Cage, who said, "I have to play this part." He just finished a movie called Season of the Witch, where he was supposed to get his eye shot out with an arrow, but the producers didn't like it, so they dropped the scene. In Drive Angry, his character gets shot in the eye, and that really appealed to him, so he wanted in. Lussier and Farmer were ecstatic that Cage was on board, but it presented a problem. Milton was supposed to be in his 70s. They rewrote the script so that he didn't age while in hell. Even though years had gone by on Earth, he was still as old as he was when he died. DeLuca got producer Boaz Davidson involved, and he brought in additional producers to raise the $50 million budget they needed for the film. With Cage on board, they started working on the rest of the cast. They hired Amber Heard to play Piper. On top of her good looks, they liked her attitude and willingness to throw a punch. They hired William Fichtner to play the accountant, the person sent by the devil to retrieve the souls that escaped from hell. Tom Atkins played Cap. Lussier and Farmer worked with him on My Bloody Valentine, and he played pretty much the same character. They loved him so much, they said if possible, they'd hire him for every movie they do. Even though Billy Burke had been doing movies since the 90s, he gained a lot of attention starting in 2008 as Charlie Swan, the mustache dad of Bella in the Twilight movies. Not wanting to be typecast, he took the role of the brutal cult leader, Jonah King. Writer Todd Farmer played Frank, Piper's cheating boyfriend. Rounding out the cast was David Morse in a small role as Webster. Filming started in 2010, mostly in Shreveport, Louisiana. They were allowed to film in the restaurant in the beginning, but they didn't close, so they shot their scenes while the place was still open. Billy Burke wanted a staff for his character, so the art department came up with the idea of having it made of the femur of Milton's daughter. After filming, Burke kept the staff. When Tom Atkins was first introduced, they wanted him to be wearing a shirt that said, "Snape kills Dumbledore." They couldn't get it approved through legal, so he's wearing a shirt with multiple spoilers on it, and mixed in is Snape kills Dumbledore. They wanted this as a visual way of showing that his character was a massive buzzkill. Fichtner's wardrobe was originally a blue suit, but he scoffed at that, saying the accountant would only wear black. He went and retrieved one of his own suits, which he wore in the movie. In one of the most memorable scenes in the movie, Milton's having sex with the waitress Candy in the middle of a shootout. In one shot, one of the shell casings flew out and went down the back of his pants, burning his ass. He finished the scene and then ripped his pants off. Cage said after filming the scene, he and Charlotte Ross enjoyed a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken together. Heard really punched Farmer in this scene. He said she hit him so hard she left welts. Billy Burke and Amber Heard did most of their own stunts in their fight. After they were done, Burke said he thought it was going to be fun getting beat up by a hot girl, but that he was wrong. For the scene where Heard first gets into the Charger, they filmed it a few times, but something wasn't right. They thought about it and told her to grab the shifter like a cock. She laughed, did it, and the scene played out perfect. When the producers wanted to see how the film was going, they sent him that scene, and they loved it. The assassins, they called the Tool Men, were all stuntmen. The Bull by the Balls building was previously a brothel. While the movie does have a lot of CG, they tried to do what they could with practical effects. The car flipping off the bridge was real, for example. The scene where Milton was being chased through the warehouse was filmed in an abandoned munitions factory. They called it the Trench Run as an homage to Star Wars. The film is loaded with cars, but the director swore they didn't wreck any of the Chargers. All the damage done was cosmetic, and they fixed them after filming. The Chevelles, well, they trashed them. When the accountant was driving the truck through the police cars, it was Fichtner's idea to have him listening to KC and the Sunshine Band. Boaz Davidson loved the idea because that song was used in a movie he directed called The Last American Virgin. The baby in the movie is actually 4 babies, 2 twin boys, a girl, and for scenes where the infant would potentially be in danger, they had a prop they called Robo-Baby. The art department came up with a design of the pentagram with the crown for the cult of Jonah King. The God Killer gun was based off a pepper pot gun. On the bullet fired by the God Killer is inscribed Deus Velox Nex. It translates to God's quick death. The coin the accountant has is an obolos, which is Greek currency. It's used as a toll to pay the ferryman for crossing the river Styx into Hades. The henchman in the church was written as a guy with an intentionally bad wig. They went to different wig shops and got the worst wig they could find. Nicolas Cage ad-libbed most of his dialogue. He was reading a lot of Walt Whitman at the time, and remembered a line that said, "Drinking mead from a skull." In one scene, he said he wanted to drink beer out of King's skull. The director loved it and had the art department make a prop skull that he could drink beer out of at the end of the movie. The movie had a few homages in it. The character of Milton was named after John Milton, the author of the poem Paradise Lost. Cage played the character of Milton like Clint Eastwood in High Plains Drifter. The bridge scene was an homage to The Fugitive. In the church, the people are singing, "All Things Bright and Beautiful." This song was from one of the director's favorite movies, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Candy was an homage to Candy from Highlander. The RV chase scene was an homage to Race with the Devil. This was also the Drive Angry part of Drive Angry. They finished filming and went into post-production. Lussier said they did their best, but still went over budget on props and ammo. They worked on the movie at Skywalker Sound, and Patrick Lussier's son, Devin, edited the film. The original opening of the movie started with the chase in Laughter, Colorado. It wasn't until much later in the film when we find out Milton had escaped from hell. The studio didn't like that the audience was in the dark about that for so long, so they insisted the film open with him escaping from hell. While it's a cool effect, it spoils what would have been a great reveal later. To give the sex shootout an added punch, the sound engineer timed the gunshots with the music. The song at the end was called Drive Angry, which was written and recorded by Weston Cage, Nicolas Cage's son. The movie opened on February 25th, 2011, in 9th place. At the end of its run, it made only $28 million, which was a huge flop. Many people blame the failure on its heavy push of 3D in a time when folks were getting tired of the gimmick. Whatever the case, it bombed theatrically, but did gain some traction when it hit the home market. The flop hit Lussier hard. Before the film was released, he was in talks to helm the Hellraiser prequel. Drive Angry bombed, Hellraiser was put on hold, and he hasn't directed anything until this year with a film called Radiance that should be out next year. It's a shame Drive Angry did so poorly, because it was exactly the movie it set out to be. It was a $50 million grindhouse movie, a movie that was made to revel in exploitation and excess. The director said it was a hard movie to make, but fun. Cage loved the film because he grew up watching Roger Corman in midnight movies. He was perfect in the role and played it fairly subtle instead of going full-on Nick Cage crazy. While they did have a definitive ending, they left open the possibility of a sequel. Although with a horrible performance, that's fairly unlikely. While I'm not a fan of 3D in general, I didn't mind it here. Since it was shot in 3D and not a post-conversion, it looks great. It also fits in well with the insanity and reminds me of over-the-top grindhouse films like Comin' At Ya and Treasure of the Four Crowns. Drive Angry is an absolute blast. While some of the CG is bad, the over-the-top gleeful insanity more than makes up for it. Thank you, Bill Murray and Puxatawny Phil.
I am going to kill you, and then I'm going to defile your corpse.
Between now and then, I'm gonna fuck you up.